Un, trois. Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue à un webinaire qui est fait par Maison Interlude House en le mieux soutenir les communautés autochtones. Hi everybody, today we're doing a webinar on truth and reconciliation and also able to support more of our Native communities around the area of SDNG Prescott Russell. Bonjour, mon nom c'est Maggie Larocque. Je suis une travailleuse des services d'approche de la Maison Interlude dans les comtés de Stormont. So today we're going to do it, we're going to have an introduction to talk about land acknowledgement, so la reconnaissance du territoire. We're going to talk a little bit about what is Maison Interlude as an agency, c'est quoi que Maison Interlude. Et aussi, on va discuter, parler avec la journée qu'on va célébrer le 30 septembre, que c'est Orange Shirt Day, Truth and Reconciliation. Okay, so my introduction for today is, have you really noticed that in the last couple of years, we started having more and more opening ceremonies, a type of land acknowledgement. It's one that many Indigenous people say marks a small but essential step towards the reconciliation. But what does that mean? Well, the purpose of it is recognizing that we as settlers and people who are not part of the First Nations or Indigenous groups are here on their land. A territory or land acknowledgement is an act of reconciliation that involves making a statement recognizing traditional territories of Indigenous people who call the land home before the arrivals of settlers, and in many cases still do call home. Maison Interlude est un organisme qui vient à l'aide aux femmes de victimes de violences dans tout l'Est de l'Ontario. Tous nos services sont gratuits et offrent aux résidents de la communauté de Prescott Russell, Stormont, Dundas et Glengarry. En tant qu'organisme francophone, nous sommes fiers de pouvoir offrir nos services en français et en anglais. En plus de venir à l'aide aux victimes, Maison Interlude House a pour une mission de sensibiliser la communauté de la violence faite aux femmes et de participer à la lutte pour l'éradiquer. Plus ou moins, c'est plus qu'une maison d'hébergement. Nous avons une maison d'hébergement sécurité avec des plans, on fait des plans de sécurité, du counseling individuel pour les femmes et les personnes en charge et les programmes enfants-ados. Les services approches, nous avons 10 bureaux satellites. On fait une évaluation des besoins, du counseling, de l'aide à les recherches, à maintenir un logement, un budget ou l'emploi, l'école, etc. Aussi accompagnement juridique, soit cours familial, cours criminel et d'autres. On fait aussi les références à d'autres services. Dans ce cas-là, les références à d'autres services, c'est un cas par cas. Et c'est là où que si vous identifiez autochtone, on peut et on veut aider, trouver les ressources qui peuvent vous aider en mieux acknowledgement. On a de l'aide de 24 sur 7. On a une ligne de crise téléphonique, texto, clavardage et aussi le site web. Ici, c'est notre rapport communautaire, juste pour vous informer de Maison Interlude, notre mission, notre vision. Encore une fois, les services d'approche, aussi combien d'employés qu'on a, les bénévoles et les heures de bénévoles qu'on fait. C'est juste un petit rapport toutes les années. Ici, on peut voir qu'avec les appels de crise, on reçoit beaucoup de soutien du art counseling. Les territoires conservés, tu peux voir ici que c'est vraiment le Prescott Russell, Stormont, Dundas et Glengarry. Et c'est juste une petite révision. Alors, cette section ici, c'est vraiment juste montrer que dans les stats autochtones, is the violence realization and perception of safety. So the experiences of what First Nations, Métis, Inuit women in Canada, what they've experienced, what the highlights mean. So violence against Native people reflects a traumatic and destructive history of colonization that impacts and continues to impact Indigenous families, communities, and Canadian society overall. So the violent victimization is defined in the surveys of the 2018 for safety in public and private spaces as a physical assault, an attack, a threat, physical harm, or an incident with a weapon present, or sexual assault. So forced sexual activity and attempt forced sex activity. So what the results they're seeing here is that almost 6 in 10 Native women have experienced sexual assault, while almost half of Native women have experienced sexual assault. In comparison, about a third of non-Native women have experienced physical assault or sexual assault. And I know these stats can be very overwhelming to see. It does show that there is a vulnerable sector, and it is our women in general. But there's another added vulnerability when it comes to our wonderful Native community. These women have been exploited. You hear about the missing and murdered and things like that. So the stats does back it up in terms of that. Certain characteristics of that are associated with a higher likelihood of violence is really the Native women, women with disability, and the ones that are experiencing homelessness. Native women are 11%. Native women 11% were almost 6 times more likely than non-Native to ever have been in any legal responsibility with the government, and about 8 in 10 Native women who were ever under a legal responsibility of the government have experienced lost time. So when they kind of write a legal responsibility of the government is pretty much, you know, these establishments that we like to call child services, any type of Crown Ward, also the schools that were government funded. The results of the general survey of the Canadian safety indicates that Native women 71% are more likely to perceive to have indicators of you know, social anxiety, social disorders, and things like that in neighborhoods compared to non-natives. So there is that situation where the vulnerable sector, our vulnerable sector in terms of Native women have been really attacked in their communities, and we're here to really help and to see what can be done about it, being proactive in certain cases and moving forward with that. So yes, unfortunately, the stats are very overwhelming in that case. Native women are less likely, about twice more times less likely to report any kind of crime to police, due to the fact that the police and things like that are not really represented well in those type of communities, and with good reasons, good causes. So, la Journée nationale de vérité et de réconciliation, c'est quoi? C'est chaque année, le 30 septembre, marque la Journée nationale. C'est pourquoi? Ben, cette journée était créée pour une occasion de rendre hommage aux enfants qui n'ont jamais pu retourner chez eux et les survivantes des residential schools, excuse-moi, aussi que la famille et la communauté. L'histoire tragique et douloureuse de ces pensionnats et leur situation durant un élément essentiel pour être capable d'avoir un processus de réconciliation. What is Orange Shirt Day? Well, orange, why is the color orange predominant? Why was that chosen? Well, a 6-year-old Phyllis was proud to wear her shiny new orange shirt that her grandmother bought for her first day at the St. Joseph School in Williams Lake, BC. On arrival to that mission, however, she and all of the other children were stripped from their clothes, and Phyllis never saw that orange shirt again. The color orange has always reminded me that and how my feelings didn't matter, how no one cared, and how I felt like I was worth nothing, she said. All of us little children were crying and no one cared. So if you wanted to know a little bit more about Canada's residential school history, and it is very important in terms of the truth and reconciliation for us to be aware of what has happened, to be informed, and to advocate for all of our communities. orangeshirtday.org is a good place to start. So just another thing that we can possibly do in terms of supporting our Native community is to go to the events that are kind of happening all week, and certainly this weekend on Saturday, that is September 30th. Here we have Orange Shirt Day, que ça va être à Cornwall de 1h à 4h. À Lamro Park, c'est juste une petite indication de toutes les choses. Il va y avoir des guest speakers qui vont parler de leur histoire, de leur vécu, aussi de partager leur culture et de juste être capable de raisonner avec toute la communauté et de répondre à des questions et avoir du fun avec tout le monde. Aussi, on a un Walk of Sorrow à Rockland. Alors que tu peux voir ici, c'est les Indigenous Grassroots Circle qui est en train de organiser cette marche. Pour plus d'informations, d'aller voir sur leur Facebook page. Aussi pour l'autre. Nous avons d'autres ressources ici pour vous. Juste pour vous montrer, j'ai quelque chose. Je vais juste montrer ma petite aiguille. OK, parfait. Et là. Si vous êtes curieuse, if you're curious, this wonderful native-land.ca is actually information globally of Native communities. So if you're kind of curious which land that you guys are occupying, which communities were essentially here before settlers and continue to be, we just can go to this website. You can ask what kind of territory, what the languages, the treaties. Essentially, I kind of like to go about with like kind of seeing globally where we're at. So in terms of Cornwall, we are with the Haudenosaunee, Mohawk. We are on their land. If we go a little bit higher up, we are with the Algonquins for Prescott Russell and a little bit of Cree. But this is just kind of showing you the maps of like all these different Native cultures, how they were uprooted from their territories and their land. And again, this is global. It is a global map. So as you can see here, there's names and everything. So that's just a little resource to kind of pique your interest if that was anything that you guys were curious about. Also, we do have local shelter resources. So for us, Maison Lutte House is located in Hawkesbury. We have Maison Naomi's House, which is located in Winchester. Maison Baldwin House, which is located in Cornwall. And we have on the Akwesasne Reserve here, and it's the Akwesasne Family Wellness Program, which is located on Cornwall Island in the Akwesasne Reserve as well. And just to call these numbers, and this is a safe place for women and children to go when seeking to escape abuse. All right. Well, I want to say thank you so much for your interest and hopefully if there's any other questions or anything, just feel free to visit us on our websites. Any type of thing. So thank you. Merci.